Good morning. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Victoria Stewart, and I'm here with the Michigan League of Conservation Voters. We're here today to celebrate historic wins in the state budget for our water and our environment, and to celebrate those wins with a cleanup for a stewardship event for the Huron River. Here in Michigan, our water is part of who we are. It's in our DNA. From the Great Lakes that supply drinking water to millions of people, to the more than 11,000 inland lakes, rivers, and streams, water is everywhere here in Michigan, and it must be protected. We were so happy to see Governor Whitmer sign a state budget on Monday that puts our water and our people as a top priority. From cleaning up toxic contamination to funding key water infrastructure priorities in disadvantaged communities, and providing access to safe and affordable water, this state budget is truly historic. We so appreciate having lawmakers go to Lansing, like Senator Shink and Congresswoman Dingell, who support their priorities with both words and action. In addition to the accomplishments in the state budget, we continue to press for action on climate change and to make the equitable transition to clean energy a top priority to clean up our air and our water. We want to see Michigan lawmakers pass a 100% carbon-free electricity standard by 2035 and to establish policies that conserve energy so there is less pollution in our air and our water and more savings for consumers statewide. Along with taking steps toward empowering the Michigan Public Service Commission to regulate and hold big utilities accountable for equity, health, affordability, and their climate impacts, we know we have leaders like Senator Shink who are in Michigan and ready to make it happen. Now, I'll turn it over to Senator Shink.
Thank you, Victoria. My name is Sue Shink, and I represent the Michigan 14th State Senate District, covering parts of Washtenaw and Jackson counties, where we have abundant fresh water and other natural resources. As Victoria mentioned, Michigan Senate Democrats passed, and just this week, the governor signed a state budget for the people across the state that is transformational, equitable, innovative, intentional, and fiscally responsible. And I'm excited to be here today to kick off our Friday morning cleanup of the Huron River Watershed and to highlight how the state budget and state policies impact how we protect and preserve the places we cherish, like this beautiful river. The Make It in Michigan budget invests $18.2 million into the Natural Resources Trust Fund to acquire and develop projects around river trails and land areas. Specifically, the Huron River area is receiving $50,000 for water trail improvements locally, and $500,000 will be improving water trails across the state. From the Natural Resources Trust Fund, 2 local riverside parks will each receive $300,000, Bennett Park in Livingston County and Delhi Metro Park here in Washtenaw. As someone who has spent many enjoyable hours on the Huron River and who has served on the Huron River Watershed Council board, I understand the environmental and economic impacts that supporting our rivers makes. This will go to, in addition to the Make It in Michigan budget, this includes nearly $280 million dedicated to water infrastructure projects. Those dollars will go to local communities in the form of loans, grants, and direct funding for water infrastructure. Replacing lead service lines, upgrading water treatment facility and stormwater management systems are just some of the projects supported here with the help of federal infrastructure investment and Jobs Act dollars. The agriculture budget includes $9 million to conservation districts and regenerative farming efforts that will further improve water quality. Finally, I would like to note that nearly $40 million in the Make It in Michigan budget will address forever chemicals like PFAS, along with remediating emerging contaminants in disadvantaged and small communities. The state budget is about priorities, and these dollars are transformational, equitable, innovative, intentional, and fiscally responsible. We also must pass laws that match the moment when it comes to the priorities and transformation to make the most of our investments. That's why I am proud to have sponsored clean energy and climate legislation, which will reduce pollution in our water, air, and improve public health and create more jobs here in Michigan. I am also working to gain passage of a bill to repeal a ban on local governments regulating one-time use plastics. I appreciate the work that all who love our river have been doing to protect and promote it. I appreciate the work of the Huron River Watershed Council and the League of Conservation Voters to help Michiganders care for and enjoy our natural resources here, at home, and across our beautiful state. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca Esselman with the Huron River Watershed Council.
Thank you, Senator Shink. My name is Rebecca Esselman. I'm the Executive Director at the Huron River Watershed Council. Our mission at that organization is to protect and restore the river for healthy and vibrant communities. And when we say communities, we both mean our human communities and our ecological communities, the birds, fish, insects that call this place home. We do this for clean, safe drinking water. We do this for our wildlife. We do this for recreation. We do this because there's intrinsic value to our natural resources, and we need to protect them both for us and for future generations. I'm thankful to our state lawmakers and to Governor Whitmer to have the foresight to invest in our natural resources and treasured places like the Huron River Watershed Council to protect the legacy of these natural resources for us and for future generations. For the first time, Michigan Water Trails program has received a $500,000 appropriation in the DNR budget. This funding will support the 9 state-designated water trails throughout Michigan, and this money helps us maintain and improve the Huron River Water Trail. These investments ensure that these trails are safe and accessible to everyone, for all of our residents and visitors that use the river for recreation. The Huron River Water Trail is a significant amenity in this region, and many of you may not know this, but there's over $50 million in economic value annually brought to the region by the Huron River. It supports nearly 650 local jobs and provides over $600 million in added property value to area residents. The river also provides over $150 million in ecosystem services. These are things like drinking water, flood protection, carbon sequestration. And this, just to relativize that number, is very similar to the annual economic value of a University of Michigan football season. And you all know how much we value that. So these amenities deserve meaningful investments from the state, and we're really grateful to Senator Shink, who helped us advocate for this water trail funding. I'd also be remiss if I didn't say how excited the Huron River Watershed Council is to see significant investments to address some of our biggest threats to fresh water. This includes the dollars for water infrastructure, for PFAS, and for protecting critical lands. Water is only as healthy as the water around it. As the land around it. We're also excited to see increased funding for EGLE that will help the agency with its regulatory and compliance roles that are critical for protecting our water from pollution and for cleaning up legacy sites that continue to harm our ground and surface waters. Thank you to Senator Shink for being a champion in Lansing, for all you've done so far on the environment and all you will do. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Representative Dingell.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's an honor to be here with the Huron Watershed and to be here with all of the LCV volunteers and staff who fight to protect our environment every single day. But I'm really here to support Senator Sue Shink, who is an incredible partner in protecting our environment, our waters, our air, and the land we live on. You know, today is like a perfect day, and it's why we need to protect these waters. I can't help but come here today and not think about John Dingell, who passed the Clean Water Bill, wrote it, and passed it. And most people can't believe this, but when he introduced the Clean Water Bill, he was denounced from one end of this country to the other. And how hard it was to get that bill passed. And many people think he introduced it, or it got introduced because of the fire in Cleveland. Our Rouge River actually caught on fire more than 50 years ago. And they had a very intense bipartisan. Joe Nollenberg on the Appropriations Committee worked very hard with John Dingell to make sure that we brought money in to clean the Rouge River. And while the work continues there, it is one hell of a lot better than it was. And John Dingell dealt with everybody here and said the Huron River needs to do the same thing. You cannot take it for granted. And at the federal level, we've been working so hard to make sure that that happens. And this is a partnership between federal, state, and local governments and the NGOs and the nonprofits and the environmental groups like LCV, who do such important work. And you know, everybody thinks Ann Arbor is Ann Arbor. I won't think of all the adjectives people could use. But you know, we need to worry about PFAS. We're working hard to address it. It's in more than 90% of people's blood. But the dioxin plume, which has been there needing to be cleaned up and is spreading to people's wells. We finally brought all the communities together. Instead of, people try to divide us. They try to divide us, and they think if they can keep us divided, they can keep action from happening. People are together. Last summer, we had a hexchlorium spill into the waters that was a potential threat to the Huron. It was in the Huron waters. Fortunately, it didn't get this far. But we have to worry about keeping our water clean every day. Michigan's taught the rest of the country about what lead in your water can do to a community. And everybody here, our state legislature, the LCV, the Huron Watershed Group, we are speaking up for people for clean water. And that's what the legislature is doing. That is what the bipartisan infrastructure bill is doing. That is what the IRA is doing, putting money into the states to help make sure we clean up our water. The Great Lakes are more than 20% of the fresh water in the world. We have a moral obligation to protect these waters. So this cleanup today is volunteers who are supporting Sue Shink because we know we can never take our water for granted. So thank you to everybody who's here, but I really want to thank Sue Shink for her leadership and making sure dollars got to this community so we protect this vital tributary to waters in this state. Thank you. Now I'm turning this back over to Victoria.
Thank you, Congresswoman, and thank you for everyone who's here today. As we know, this is such an important issue. We've seen kayakers float by here on the Huron River just during this conference. We know that clean water matters to everyone when they turn on their tap, and this is a vital issue for everyone here in Michigan. So thank you for Congresswoman Dingell, Senator Shink, Rebecca, and everyone else who is here today to help us with this river cleanup.